I left my job for 6 months with no money, no plan, and no idea what I was going to do next. And it was probably the scariest 6 months of my life. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm going to share why I did that and the power of taking a risk. So I've been thinking a lot about risk taking over the last few days, and it brought me back to the story of when I decided I was going to take a 6 month sabbatical from work and have no plan, no real idea of what I was going to do, but it's something that I felt like God was leading me to do, and I had no idea what to do, and I prolonged it for quite a while. But I feel like this is a really important part of risk taking that no one really talks about. And I decided, well, I'm going to tell you the story and we're going to navigate some lessons and learnings together. So, last year, some point when I was praying, I started to feel like God was telling me to take a step back from where I was at that time in terms of a job, and I had no plan, no backup. I was very comfortable. Like, when I say I was very comfortable, I mean I was very, 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 very comfortable in where I was and the space that I was at the time. So even when I heard it, I was like, oh, that cannot be right. There's no way I can leave, like, and do what? Because I had no idea of what was the next step was. I just knew that this is the step that I was to take. And that is absolutely so scary. I remember just like sitting with my thoughts and thinking, there is like, it's not even feasible. There is no way that I can even make this a reality. Who just stops working for 6 months? So I started to do some research and I realized at my workplace at the time, there was no policy on sabbatical or taking a break for 6 months. I started to think, will I even have a job if I was to go? I started to think, like, what am I even going to do at home for 6 months? I'm not really a stay at home kind of person. Like, that's not really my thing. I love to be active and busy and doing things. I started thinking about, where's the money going to come from? I'm used to having a salary and, a certain type of lifestyle, and that being taken away, I started to think, it's not even a reality. So I just ignored the thought. Even when it would come back, I ignored it. And I remember another day, just like the idea came back again, and I didn't want to really have the conversation with my husband because I knew what my husband would say, and he's very logical and like we plan things, and that was like the most illogical thing that could I could possibly come and say, hey, by the way, I want to leave my job for 6 months and by the way, it's unpaid. Oh, and by the way, I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm at the 6 months. I've just got no idea. I think maybe I'm going to figure things out. And this would have been the first time that I was out of work or out of anything. I kind of went from education, university, doing my master's, got married and started working. So I've never been outside of like your 2 week annual leave. I've never been out of work. Or I've never been out of doing something. And I remember eventually having the conversation with my husband, and I think we had like 7 conversations, but it was something that I felt strongly like I was supposed to do. And eventually we prayed about it, and my husband was like, do you know what? If God is in this, he will make a way, go for it. And having the conversation and scheduling the meeting with my manager, I was so nervous. And when we're talking about risk taking, this is something that's never been done before in the organization. I don't necessarily have a plan for it myself. I'm really asking God, like, where do you want me to go with this? What do you want me to do? There is no right, in month 1 I'm going to, in month 2 I'm going to, month 3. There was none of that. It's just take a step back from work. That like that's it. Like, that's the direction. So absolutely terrified. I was like, well, like, God is telling me to do this. Well, he has a provision. And mind you, 6 months off work means 6 months of salary not there. And I remember just having like scheduling the meeting with my manager and trying to articulate what I was going to say, and asking, or even just presenting the idea of, would it be possible for me to take a step back off work for 6 months? Yes, I know it's unpaid. And I remember having the conversation, and she kind of just looked at me like, what? What? And I was like, well, I would like 6 months off work, unpaid. And she was so confused by that because, again, I had already done my research. It was something that had never been done before in the organization, and I didn't even know if it could be done. And she was so confused. She was like, I don't really know what to do with this information. I have no idea. There is no policy on this. So I'm going to have to go away and think about it and speak to the higher ups and see what we can do. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And like some weeks passed by, there was nothing, which probably were like the longest weeks. I'm like, maybe they're going to fire me, or oh my gosh, they think I'm unserious, or I don't know. It was just uncertainty. And I remember her coming back to me and say, you know what, that was approved. Do you have a date in mind? And it became so real that I was going to be on a 6 month sabbatical with no plan. Mind you, I had like, it's not even anything I've necessarily wanted to do. It was something that I felt like I had to do. And I was just being obedient. So with no plan, with no money and nothing, I was like, okay, I'm going on sabbatical. And the way that God had me set up, like when I decided to be obedient and take this step, I kid you not, I got an email. I got an email about some investment that was made, and the money that I was gonna get from that was what I was getting paid in my job for 6 months plus. So it technically would have been like 8 months or something. And once I had said, yes, I'm going to do it, and I had spoken to my manager, like a week later, that email comes in. So not only was I going into sabbatical, but I was going to sabbatical paid. And I really believe that if I hadn't taken that risk or really like trusted God, that provision wouldn't have happened. And sometimes it can feel scary trusting God when you don't have a plan, when you don't know what He's doing, but it's like an inkling or a nudge. And the best way I can explain it, it wasn't like God said, hey, Rodna, this is what you're supposed to do. No, it was just a knowing. An inner knowing, like, it's time for this, or it's time, like, I can't even explain an inner knowing. It's just an inner knowing. You know, when you go somewhere you're not supposed to be somewhere, and you just get that check in your feeling, you get that check in your spirit, or your check in your heart, or like something just doesn't feel right. I started to feel like where I was then just didn't feel right. And I started to feel like it's now time for this. It wasn't an audible voice. It wasn't a dream that I had. It was just an inner knowing. And yeah, so fast forward, the risk-taking saga begins. I start my first day of sabbatical. I have 6 months off. Like, I started to get excited. Once the money came in and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm not going to be homeless or sleeping on the floor or anything like that. I started to get excited because when would you ever have time off? When would you ever have 6 months off to just be and feel and think and do business? And I started to like really start making a plan. And the first day, I was like, right, I'm going to focus on my business. This is going to be amazing. The first day I did the school run, and I was going to go back into my office, and I felt really strongly to go and pray. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go pray. And I was really like praying until it was time to pick up my kids. I just didn't have like the release to leave. Second day comes, same thing. Third day comes, same thing. Fourth day, fifth day comes. And for that whole week, I thought, right, I'm going to run with my business and get started. I was just spending time with God. And it was the most beautiful time because I think I really needed it, because I had no directional clarity as to what I was going to do. I really was taking a risk and taking a leap of faith in this unknown territory, unknown grounds of, I know I'm supposed to be doing this. This was a bit weird because I feel like I've got no control in this decision, but I'm doing it anyway. And I'm just going to trust that God was doing it. And so far, He had provided everything He needed to provide. So I was good. And I was just asking God, like, what do you want me to do in this time? Like, what does 6 months of sabbatical look like? And so much was going on in my mind at the time. And I don't remember telling anybody. I think I told my parents after the money had come. I think after I had confirmed it, because I didn't want anybody's voices or opinions to weigh or sway or what I thought I heard God say. I just wanted to really tune in, because sometimes people won't understand your experiences. People won't understand your journey or the path that you're supposed to take, even if they're well-meaning. And I know that my parents are always supportive, and I just needed space to think and reflect and be like, is this really what I'm going to do? Is this really what I need to do? And a lot happened in those 6 months. A lot. I've traveled more than I ever traveled in those 6 months. I was in Zimbabwe, I was in Namibia, I went to Atlanta for the first time. I said, right, I want sabbatical. I've never been to America. The one thing or the one place I'm gonna go is I'm gonna go to America.
This is me and my mom bakery. We've been open since 1997. Windsor Jones, yeah. Bill Clinton came and tried the sweet potato cheesecake back in '99.
Oh, amazing! Cool, thank you. Sweet potato.
So this gonna go back to London.
What is the sweet potato what?
Sweet potato cheesecake.
Sweet potato cheesecake.
Yeah, made with a pound cake crust.
Oh.
She gonna post this up on
Oh, y'all need a water or something?
She wants a spoon, and I'll take a bottle of water, brother.
Thank you.
The verdict.
No pressure.
What was your name again, man? What you say?
George.
George. Okay. There you go. Yeah, answer that question first.
Oh.
We need to show you. Are you filming yourself? Eating sweet potato cheesecake. Are you filming her?
Oh, this is good.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother, appreciate
Such
you.
a random combination, but this is really good.
It's not so random to us.
So this is normal?
We put cheesecake and sweet potatoes and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
We eat sweet potato French fries. We eat sweet potato.
Yes.
Look at that. I
And
get
I don't even
that.
like sweet potato fries,
I
but it's a
know.
big thing though. It's a
I
big
know.
thing. I don't like it.
So like normal sweet potato?
Yeah, like sweet potato, we crush them up, like
Yeah.
fresh sweet potato.
So what's the secret ingredient?
The secrets in getting can I put a ring on your finger?
I have a ring on my finger.
Oh,
What am I supposed to do with an 8-year-old man?
but you didn't know that.
No, I did not. I did not.
You didn't know that.
No.
See, well, if I didn't say nothing,
Everyone is just good vibes. Everyone. And it's like humid, hot, like, yeah. Everyone says hello. Everyone greets one another. I went to Atlanta and I had so much fun. I went on a solo trip for the first time ever in my life. I was in America. I was in Atlanta by myself. Got on a train. I got on a plane. And I just got to experience this whole new culture. The America that I had seen on TV, grown up seeing. This is where
I don't know.
Medea,
I don't want you to end up in Fulton County, so I'm gonna stay
Tyler
here.
Perry
Later.
shot all
Sorry,
the
that's,
Medea movies.
Sorry.
So this is the house.
Okay.
I was in ATL. I got to experience really cool food, meet amazing people. And I wouldn't have never done that if I hadn't taken the risk or if I hadn't said yes. And I remember such a sobering moment, which really brought me to tears. And it made me understand parts of why I was on sabbatical. I remember being in Namibia and I was working with an NGO in Namibia. I was delivering a workshop to underprivileged young people. Now, these are people who have nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing. And I remember even planning we did a family trip to Namibia, and I remember planning a trip for it was actually for my husband who was going to see his friend. And I'd never been to Namibia. I had no connections. I thought I was going on a holiday. And shout out to my sister, Shireen. And I remember when we told them that we were coming, like she really just like my schedule was packed in Namibia. I had events and speaking opportunities and working with young people, and that was just God orchestrating all of that. Anyway, I remember being in this room and there was this girl that drew my attention. We had come early and I was just talking to a few people that were there, and this girl comes in and she goes to sit. She's sitting by herself. And I was just drawn to her, and I go and sit with her and I'm like, oh, hey, what's your name? We probably exchanged names. And then the next thing that came out of her mouth was, I'm thinking about unaliving myself and my son. I was like, what? And in that moment, I thought, this girl has been coming to this NGO for how many years just to eat. She comes to eat and to find a bit of solace away from her life. And she came and she's been coming all this time and she had never told anybody. I was a random stranger who she'd never met before. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. But the moment I sat down, she told me that she was planning to unalive herself and her little boy who was 3 years old. And when I began to talk and really ask questions and understand where she was coming from, and she began to tell me the challenges, some of the rape that she had been through, which led to children. And she was so young. She must have been 18 years old. And she had nothing. She had nobody. And in that moment, it made my yes to taking a sabbatical make so much sense. I thought, imagine if I had said no, and I would have been still comfortable in my job, getting paid, doing all of these things, but I wouldn't have experienced and had an encounter with the people that God had placed my way for me to speak to. And I think about what would have happened to that girl. Would she have spoken to someone else, or would she have gone and done the thing that she had done and I would have never known? So sometimes when we're looking at obedience, I always remember that when I'm going to do something or when I don't want to do something, because I remember that day, I didn't even want to go to that, being perfectly honest, I didn't want to go to NGO. I think I wasn't feeling well or something, but I didn't particularly want to go. And I think I even tried to get out of it. But there was this person who was waiting for me to tell me this and was waiting for me to speak life in her and to encourage her. And there were other people in that event who I was just there to speak and do a workshop. It was about confidence and it was about self-belief. And I remember leaving that session and people were like, do you know what? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. No one's ever told me this before. No one's ever told me that I'm important or that I care or that I'm valuable before. No one has ever said those words. And that just about brought me to tears. And I also remember going to a workshop in Namibia and speaking to this one girl in particular. And I think maybe I'll upload the video of what happened. I want you to say it. I want you to say, I am beautiful. I want you to, I'm going to get on. We're going to say it until you mean it. And I'm not even meaning, this is a safe space. We've already said it. This is a safe space. And I don't want you to think you're not beautiful, because that's not true. So can you give me a hug? And then we're going to say it. Because you are, and that's not true. You have something special. You don't look like the other girls, but you're special in your own right. So I want you to say, I am beautiful. You're going to have, we're not stopping this segment until you say it. So we can wait.
Can I say it really fast?
You can say it fast, but then you're going to say it again slow.
Okay, I'm beautiful. Okay.
Say it slower. Okay.
I am beautiful.
I love that. But it's these small encounters that I had with people. I thought I was just going to be, I don't know, working on my business or just at home or traveling and living my best life. But sometimes when God says, take a leap of faith, he has the provision, he has the resources, and he knows what's going to happen. And that yes, till this day, as scary as it seemed, not knowing what I was going to do or thinking about, oh, what if I take 6 months off? How is that going to affect my career? Or are other people going to get ahead of me? Like, that was me being selfish and focusing on myself. And one of the things that this trip or the 6 months taught me of sabbatical is how God needs hands and feet on earth. God needs you and me and everybody to really be in position and to be able to say yes when he moves, when he calls, yes to doing this, yes to speaking to people, yes to going in different places, and really knowing that we are here as representatives, as ambassadors in Christ. We are here not just to like pay bills, go to work, get old, buy a house and die. Like, there is so much more that our life is worth. And sometimes it can be so easy getting in the stick of things or getting in the grind of things to just be in your own bubble and forget that actually we are in the world, but we're not of the world. And that's just the lessons of me taking that leap of faith, even when it was really scary. I can't really explain the time that it was, because I felt like I was losing everything by taking a step back. And one of the things that I remember is, I remember thinking, I've made my job an idol. If I can't say yes to God because I'm thinking about how am I going to pay my bills, or how am I going to make this work, or what about my kids' activities, or what about this, or what about that, that means that I'm relying on my job, or I'm relying on income, or I'm relying on my own strength and my own power as sustenance to sustain me. But the Bible tells me that God is able to provide all my needs. God is able to know what I need before I even ask for it. So why would I think that a job is more important than doing what God has asked you to do or called you to do or gifted you to do. So this is just an encouragement for anybody who feels like they're stepping into a new season, or they're moving into a new season, or they need to do something different, or maybe God's calling you and nudging you to step into something different and you're unsure, maybe you're scared, or maybe you just don't know. I hope that my story of me literally stepping away from my job for 6 months with no plan, with no money, with no idea what I was going to do in those 6 months, but it turned out to be the best 6 months of my life. Oh gosh, it was fantastic. It was such a beautiful experience, and I would absolutely do it again. So even if it doesn't make sense, even if you're not sure, even if you feel like, God, this is too much, or I don't know how I'm gonna get the money or get the provision or get the finances, or I don't know how I'm gonna move countries, I promise you that God has got you. He showed up in such a way that only he could show himself as God in my life. I was thinking about how am I going to pay my bills every month for the next 6 months, and he gave me a check with more than enough for, it was even more than my monthly salary. And it's nothing that I worked for, it's nothing that I did in my own strength. He just showed me that he was God, and he literally brought it to my lap. And I remember reading the email and going and running, and I showed my husband, because it was literally a week after I had said to my manager, I'm going to take a step back for 6 months. And we looked at each other like, there is no way. There is no way this could have happened. There is no way. It could only be God. So if the same God could come through for me when he's provided the provision for the vision, is the same God that will help you, is the same God that will keep you. Whatever the vision is, whatever he's asking you to do, just do it. The same way that God told Abraham, leave your father's house, leave everything that you know, and go to a land that I'll show you. God already knew the provision. He already knew everything, and he already had the provision set out for Abraham, and he's already got the provision set out for you. So don't stress, just say yes. All you need to do is say yes and trust that God will do everything else.